Thank you for joining us today for a career webinar presented in collaboration by the Career Development Center and UWM Alumni Association. This is Elizabeth Mueller with the UWM Alumni Relations team, and in this presentation, we'll talk about creating a job search plan. In today's presentation, we'll cover reasons for a job search plan, job search essentials, factors to consider in your job search, and prioritizing and organizing the search. When beginning a job search, jumping straight into action mode can be very tempting, but there are many great reasons for creating a job search plan before you get started or as you're reassessing a job search that you're already in. So here are a few. A job search plan can help you set and keep your goals. By actually reflecting on and setting goals, you'll make sure that these goals are realistic and doable, but that are also still challenging you and helping you get to those next steps. It will help you feel a sense of progress and accomplishment, and we all know that when you feel accomplished, you'll be more confident and more inspired to work even harder. So feeling that sense of progress will help you keep moving in your search. Creating a job search plan will also help you follow up on leads and contacts more easily so that something doesn't, as you're juggling all the different pieces of a job search, one key piece or one key follow-up doesn't slip through the cracks. It will help you organize your network for now, for the job search you're doing now, and also for later, even as you get started in whatever your next step is. And so in the end, it'll help you find a job now, but it also could help you find a job later, especially as you continue to keep up the professional development work that you're doing while you're in your next position and working on what your next steps might be after your next position. And the last, and I think most important, is that creating a job search plan will help you avoid the alternative, which of course is chaos. And nobody wants to be in a job search plan that just feels like lots of different moving pieces that you don't have control over. So now that we know that we should make a job search plan and you're convinced that making a plan is the right thing to do, let's talk about how, by beginning with the essentials. The three main activities that need to be included in any comprehensive and strategic job search are listed here. The first being postings, which is searching for posted jobs. The second is targeting, which is making a list of companies or organizations that you might be interested in working for. And the third is networking, which is, of course, connecting with people in jobs or companies that you're interested in finding out more about. So don't worry, we're going to talk more in depth about tools and strategies of each of these three areas. But the most important thing to remember is that the magic happens in the overlap. Let's visualize what that means in a quick Venn diagram on the next slide. So many job seekers will spend a lot of their time in this posting circle. I'm going to grab out my highlighting tool so I can show you what I'm talking about. They'll spend a lot of their time in this posting circle and maybe not even consider targeting and networking. So I want to at first encourage you to think about targeting and networking. If you're listening right now and thinking, yep, I'm spending a lot of time doing online applications, writing resumes and cover letters and sending them in, I want you at first to consider adding these other strategies to your job search plan, the targeting and the networking. But then I want to challenge you a second time to think about how you can make these three activities, posting, targeting, and networking, connect. We don't want to think about them as three totally separate circles. We want to think about how these different activities can really feed into each other. Because, like I say to a lot of people that I've worked with, the career advisor's heaven is in this middle area where the overlap happens. And really why career advisors love this middle area is why you as a job seeker will too, because it's really where things start to happen. Let's walk through a really quick example. So if you have an organization on your targeting list, so say we're going to start in the targeting circle, and you've got an organization that you're really interested in working for, but you don't know much about it yet. So it's on your target list, but you've got to do something now that it's on your target list. So your first step might be checking out the company's website, going to their employment page to see if they do have any postings that would fit the type of job that you're looking for. So you Google it, you go to their company's employment page, and you don't really see any jobs that fit what you're looking for in the posting section. So, okay, let's think about what we could do next. We don't want that to be the end of the line. So let's think about networking. Is there anyone that you know that works at the organization, or maybe in a, someone that you know that knows someone? If you hit a wall there and say, no, I don't know anyone that works there, we'll talk later about how to use LinkedIn to find alumni who might work at this organization, how you could use the alumni groups in LinkedIn to find someone who works there. And so you go to the networking side and you're able to connect with someone on LinkedIn and a fellow UWM alum and sit down and have informational interview conversation with them, or even if maybe they can't even sit down in person, you chat over the phone or go back and forth over email and have a nice conversation and ask them questions about their job, how they got into their career field, and most importantly, what advice they might have for someone like you who's looking to enter a company like theirs or get into the type of work that they're doing. They might be able to share some great insider advice with you, like, oh, I know a coworker of mine is going to be moving to a different office, and so I think there's going to be a position open here in the next couple weeks or month. Would you want me to let you know about it? All of a sudden, they're going to let you know about it, and then you can see how we're going full circle. Now you've got a posting to apply for. But instead of it just being a posting that, you diligently write your resume and cover letter and send in, now you've got a person on your side, another UWM alum, family, friend, that can also, maybe do something even as great as walking down the hall and telling the hiring manager to give your resume an extra look, or, following up with them to thank them for their time and let them know that you've applied to see if there's, any extra follow-up that you might do, or another person at the organization you could get in touch with. The likelihood of something happening from this kind of very strategic way of applying for the posting is a lot more likely than just sending your resume and cover letter into an online forum. And so I hope that this example shows you that we really want to think about these three different circles and doing activities in these three different circles, but really connecting the dots so that you're not, targeting these companies and looking at postings here and doing networking over there, that you're thinking about how to make your search go full circle and really live in this middle overlap of your job search plan. So now that you've got the bird's eye view about how to kind of think of an overall structure, organizational way to put your search together, let's talk about the tools and strategies for each one of those circles in your Venn diagram. But again, always keeping in mind that the goal is to make this search more cohesive and really find ways for there to be overlap between the circles and between the tools. So let's start with postings. So I want you, of course, to have on your list searching for posted jobs. Of course, this will be part of your job search. But what I really want to accentuate is the importance of doing what I call your due diligence before you hit submit. So let's start with the strategies listed on the right side of this slide, because I think these will help you understand what I mean by due diligence. So instead of just finding a job that you write your resume and cover letter and send it in really quick, I would really encourage you, when you find a job posted online that you're interested in, taking some time to research the company or organization and identifying why you want to work for this company. This is going to help you make your documents, your resume and cover letter, and whatever other supporting documents you need to turn in for that application a lot stronger and a lot more geared towards this organization, and it's going to really show in the materials that you present through your online application and can make your application stand out over the rest. Another great way to do some extra research is to talk to people who work there to glean useful insider advice. Again, this could be people that are in your networking circle now, and we're going to talk about networking, but networking through people that you do know, through LinkedIn, through the UWM Alumni Association can be a great way that if you don't know someone first off the bat at the organization that you're looking at, that you might do some additional outreach to connect with someone at that organization. You can ask those people the questions that a lot of times people ask career advisors, like, should I include a cover letter, or do you guys not really read cover letters that much? Should my resume be 1 page or 2 pages? Because any career advisor will tell you, we can give you overall generalities within an industry or within a type of organization, but every organization has their own preferences. So it's so much better to get that real insider advice about what that organization prefers, or even as specifically as what that department or the person who's going to be reading it prefers. Then you can use the research that you've done, the insider advice that you've gleaned, to tailor your application materials to the job and to the company, so that you're making sure that as you're looking at the job description and you're either revising your resume or reading your resume, you see that the keywords that the employer has put in the job description are on your resume. Not so blatant as to copy and paste, of course, but whether it's an electronic sorting mechanism that's searching for those keywords, or a person reading the resume, if those keywords from the job description and the skills and requirements that they're asking for are on your resume, it's going to be a lot easier for them to see straight away that you're a great fit and you've got the skills and qualifications for this job. The last is that after you hit submit, don't stop there. Do some strategic follow-up. Now, follow-up could be in the form of an email or a phone call. I always tell people, start with what feels most comfortable for you first. You might, if you don't get something from your first outreach, a week later you might try a different type of outreach. So if you send an email first, a week later you might give a call, because again, you never really know what people prefer, so trying different methods of outreach might get you a better result. In your follow-up, I often will suggest to people to follow up about 3 things. You want to follow up to confirm that they've received your application materials. The second is that you want to reiterate your great interest in this opportunity. And if you can, you might highlight a few key things that make you really interested in the job or the company, or a few key things that you think make you a great candidate for the role. And the third is to inquire about their timeline for hiring. The third piece I think is really useful, because oftentimes in a job description, there isn't information about when they want this person to interview, when they want this person to start, and that's information that you usually want as a job seeker. You want to know when they hope to have someone start, to see if that really fits in with your plans. If they want someone to start in 2 weeks but you couldn't start for 2 months, that's going to make a big difference for you. If they want someone to start in 3 months and you need a job right now, you want to know that kind of information. So A, you ask because you want to know. And B, it's great to have a question to ask, because asking a question will help initiate a response. Just following up and saying you're really interested, they might not email you back because they don't have anything to email you back, or they might not call you back because they don't really have anything to say. They might be still thrilled that they got the phone call, but they don't really have a reason to necessarily call you back. But when you inquire and ask about their timeline for hiring, it gives them a reason to get back to you. And we always like when people get back to us, don't we? So those are some strategies for postings to make sure that you're really thinking strategically and going around the whole circle of doing a posting, not just using the same resume and sending it in and calling it a day. If you can do, 5 really strong strategic applications like this with the process that I just told you, even though that's probably going to take you a bit longer of a time, those applications are going to get you a lot further than doing 100 applications that you just send in the same resume that you've sent to everyone else. I promise. Now that we've talked about strategies, let's talk about some of the tools. I have two websites here that can be a great place to start looking for postings. They both are on the Career Development Center website, and they give you a list of job boards. Of course, there's many job boards that you could search for postings for, like Monster.com, like Milwaukee Jobs, um, like Simply Hired. These are all great sites. You want to find ones that you like that work for you. One of my personal favorites that you might check out if you haven't already is a website called Indeed.com. It's www.indeed.com. And what I like about it is that it's more of a Google search for job postings, because it pulls job postings that match the criteria that you enter from all over the internet, instead of just companies that have posted on that site, like a Monster in Milwaukee. It really takes an organization deciding that they want to post their job on Milwaukee Jobs for it to show up there, while Indeed is going to search companies' websites. It's going to search things like Monster. It's going to search all different places. So it's going to cast a wider net and give you a more robust list of postings that meet your criteria. And it's really simple and easy to use. That's really what I like about it. Another great place to look for posted jobs is through Panther Jobs. Panther Jobs is similar to a Milwaukee Jobs or Monster, but only accessible by UWM students and alumni, and the people that post jobs on this site, the employers that post jobs on this site, are employers that are specifically looking to hire UWM students and alumni. And so it will give you a bit of a different search than what you'll find in Indeed, but on two fronts, it can help you a lot in applying to postings that you know they're really looking for a Panther already. But as we move in quickly to talking about targeting, Panther Jobs is also a great way to maybe look up companies and find contact information of an organization that you wouldn't have otherwise. Because I often see that because this is a closed site only to UWM students and alumni, that many employers, especially recruiters and people who are posting their jobs, will actually put their name, put their phone number, put their email address. And so you can see that information, so you have someone to follow up with instead of just calling an HR department, which of course is a great strategy, but if you can get someone's name and phone number, that much better, right? To create an account in Panther Jobs, just click on the link in this PowerPoint, and they'll have information about how to reach out to the different departments that can set up a Panther Jobs account for you. So just as easy as clicking on that link and following the instructions to outreach to the appropriate department. Now that we've talked about postings, let's talk about targeting. Again, targeting is creating a list of companies or organizations that you might be interested in working for. The important part of this piece is that you use this list to take action. Having a list of organizations that you don't do anything with won't help you in your job search, but thinking about how you can take these organizations and companies that are on your target list and move them to postings, to networking, is really where you'll start to see things happening. So let's again talk about strategies first, listed on the right side of your screen. The first I want to talk about is keeping the list manageable and tracking your progress. There's no magic number for how many organizations should be on this list. And we'll talk about kind of the other factors to consider in your job search later. But you know how much you can manage. So if 5 organizations are on your list and you're taking action on those organizations and you don't have time for more, 5 is your great number. If you have more time and you want to make a list of 20, 30 organizations that you're taking action on, then make your list a little bit longer. But again, you want to kind of reflect often to see, is your list reasonable? Are you actually taking action on it, or has it gotten too big? Is it too small and you could add some more? Then go on and do some research to add some more. The second piece is that you want to research the company, right? So once you've got a company on your list, and we'll talk about how to make that list in a minute, but you want to check out their website. You want to look at what they've got for social media. Do they have a Twitter feed that's giving information about the jobs that they have to offer? Do they have a LinkedIn group or LinkedIn account that you can learn more about the organization's culture or other people who work at the organization through? Do they have things that are happening in the news or around the community that make you more interested in the organization? And are those things that, as you're talking and doing your outreach to meet with people who work there, then you'll know what's happening with the company, and you can talk eloquently about what you've read about the company in the news and what excites you about the organization. Again, you want to think about what can you do with the companies on this list. Can you go to their website? Are there postings that you would want to apply for? Can you look for networking opportunities at the organization? And the last is you also might think strategically about identifying ways to do active outreach to the organization. In the Career Development Center resume guide that's posted on our website, one of the sample cover letters is a sample about how to do that active outreach to, if you don't see a posting that matches what you're looking for, writing a cover letter that's more asking talking to the organization about a need that you see that you could help fulfill. So if you see that they're opening a new branch in your area, reaching out to them and say you saw that and that you've got these great skills that you think you could contribute to their organization. Really identifying ways that you could help the organization. You might be able to create a job that would have never existed had you not done that active outreach to the organization. That could be something that if you're on the web page and you want to send it into, you find the director of a certain department that you're interested in, or an HR representative, you might send it in kind of to someone unknown like that. But you also might think about, again, identifying people that you know that work there or alumni who work at the organization to have some conversations with about these ideas that you might be able to build a relationship and a foundation to pitch your idea to. So how are you going to make this list? Let's look at the tools on the left-hand side. I remind people the list doesn't need to be a philosophical list. You could have an organization on the list because it's down the street from you and you want a short commute to work. So put that on your targeting list and check it out. And the second piece is that it doesn't have to be a long-lived list. So say now you check out that organization that's down the street from you and you go on their website and you realize it's not the type of company you want to work at, take it straight off your targeting list. So an organization can go on and stay on for a long, long time, or an organization can go on, you do a little bit more research, you realize it's not for you, and it goes straight off. Don't worry about there being some flexibility in your list as you're creating it. And as time goes on and you're learning more organizations and more companies, that places will go on and places will go off. That's okay. It's supposed to change. One site that I think can be a great way to add companies to your target list is actually, again, on the Career Development Center website, and I'm going to click on it so I can show you right now. It's called career-specific job posting sites. So of course you can certainly use this site to look for job postings as well. But what I like about this is that this list of resources is that it's separated out by industry and by different company type. And so you're able to scroll down and find the group or section that would be most interesting to you. So say you are looking for jobs in communications. This can be, you can click on all of these different resources to take you to companies and job posting sites that might have more about communications related organizations. Now again, you might find out some job postings that you want to apply for, but these organization and kind of industry focused websites are going to give you a lot of organizations that you might not have already known about. Many of them have resource directories and company and organization directories where you can look up a certain type of organization, search by geographical location, and so you'll be able to add companies to your list from these industry-specific sites. So this, I think, can be a really fun way to add companies to your targeting list. Let's go back to the PowerPoint quick. Then let's look at the next one down. Another great place to look for companies to add to your target list is from professional organizations. Now, I know you might not necessarily join a specific professional organization because maybe you need to be working in that industry and you're working in a different industry and wanting to transition into that industry, so you might not be able to join, or maybe the cost is really prohibitive. I know some professional organizations are more reasonable, but some can be quite costly, and that this might not be the best time for you to join the professional organization. That doesn't mean that you can't check out that professional organization's website to find out what companies are part of that organization. And so then that company list that are part of the professional organization that you ideally want to be part of someday can go on your target list, because those are the type of companies that you'd want to work at. LinkedIn can be another great tool for adding companies to your target list, because when we talk later about how to use it as a people finder, if you find people that are doing jobs that you think are really interesting, being able to look back over their profile and see what other types of places they've worked at to be able to get to where they are now, you might get some really great insight about some stepping stones you could take if the job that you're looking for might not be your next step, it might be your third step. And so you might look back and kind of do some investigation based on other people's profiles that have a job that you aspire for in a couple years. It can give you some ideas of where you might start in your next step to get to that third step in, 5 or 7 years. The last place I always tell people is Google, right? It seems too easy, but just Googling the type of organization and maybe putting in a geographic location to see organizations that are in the area in which you're looking might give you a list of companies that you had never known about before. You might put some on there real quick, and again, as you do research, take them off, but you might find some really great gems that you had never heard of or known about before. You'd just thrown it into Google and see what you got. Now that we've talked about postings and targeting, let's talk about everybody's favorite, networking. So I put in here one kind of extra push to really highlight the importance of networking by citing a study by career services firm DBM that reports that 61% cited networking as the source of their new jobs, while only 6% found jobs through internet job sites and print ads. And I don't say this in a way to say, don't spend any time online looking for postings, but really to accentuate the importance of networking. Because networking, again, could be something that really supplements the time that you're spending writing resumes and cover letters and sending those in. Because instead of just sending those in and hoping for the best, you're going to have people that can vouch for you and can tell someone to spend some extra time on your resume. And so if you're applying for jobs that have a stack of resumes, yours will get that extra time by the hiring manager because of the strategic networking that you've done. So really, they can fit together really, really nicely back into that Venn diagram that's in your mind and on one of the earlier slides. So let's talk about some of the ways to start networking and thinking about maybe different ways to network and ways to network that might work better for different types of people, or people who have different types of communication styles. So some of the ways that can be great if you are looking for kind of events and getting out in the community are through UWM connections, such as networking events and alumni chapters. What I like about the UWM networking events and alumni chapters is that, we'll talk later about going to kind of larger in-person networking groups, but the UWM networking opportunities often can be smaller and at the same time can you have something in common with the people that are there already. And I think that often will put people more at ease, because at some of those bigger networking group events and meetings, you might not really know how to kick off the conversation. And that can be kind of a reason that people stay away from doing that, if they're not really, outgoing and wanting to start up conversations really quickly. But at a networking event for UWM or in an alumni chapter, you know that you have in common your UWM experience. So that might be something you can begin to chat about to get the conversation going. And oftentimes I think that can get the conversation going in a fun way that then you can, of course, talk about your career search and learn about the person's career. And if they maybe already work in the type of industry or organization you want to work in, well, wonderful. Or they might know the type of people that you want to know, so they might be willing to make those introductions. But I think that kind of foundational idea that you have something to begin talking to them about, their experience at UWM, what did they study, what did they like about UWM, and things like that can be an easy way to start talking to someone. Of course, again, professional associations will often have events. Now, not all events will require you to be part of the professional association. So while you're on the professional association pages and looking up companies to add to your targeting list, also check out to see if they have any upcoming events that are open to non-members, or if they have any educational workshops coming up that you might be able to attend for a small fee without being a full paid member. That could be a great way to meet new people in an environment where you're guaranteed to meet, the type of people that are working in the industry or job or company that you'd like. Like I said before, there's also kind of those bigger in-person networking events that often, some examples here in Milwaukee are Fuel, Network After Work Milwaukee, Milwaukee. I included a link here that's got a list of all of the upcoming networking events that you can check out. Now, this one's specific to Milwaukee, but if you just take out the end part of this link where it says Milwaukee, you'll be able to put in the geographic location where you are if you're not here local with us in Milwaukee. Again, those can be really great ways to meet new people, but they might not be for everyone if you're not really into going to a big event with lots of people that you don't know. Know that, and you might try it out, push yourself a little outside of your comfort zone. But if that's not working for you, maybe thinking about some of the more targeted networking events like UWM events, like professional association events that are probably going to be smaller and maybe be kind of more geared towards the type of people that you want to meet for your career. Another couple really great places to do networking that I think sometimes people overlook because they think these are separate from their career can be volunteering, religious and spiritual organizations, and hobbies. These are things that you do often kind of separate from your career life, but as you're doing these things and meeting new people, it can be a great opportunity to talk to them about what they do and if they like it and who they know, and make connections that you wouldn't have made otherwise. These are also things that, if you're doing these things separate for fun, just talking to people about what they do, or you can even think a little bit more strategically and think about if there are places that you can volunteer, hobbies that you can take up, or organizations that you might join that have kind of a career aspect to them that you would be able to develop skills for by doing that volunteering or meeting the type of people that you would want to work in that area. You could maybe do this a little bit more strategically in using it as a way to meet new people that might have jobs or work in the type of organizations that you're looking to work in. The last point on the left side is that thinking about your family, friends, and acquaintances. I remind people all the time that the more people you tell about your search, as long as you're in a search that you're talking about publicly, that the more people have a chance to introduce you to people that they know. So if you're in full search mode and looking to find a position in a certain industry, let people know that, because they might say, oh, hey, my my sister does that, or I had a friend who works in this organization. Do you want me to make an introduction? But if you hadn't told them that you were looking in that industry, or if you were looking to work at a certain type of organization, they may have never thought to make that connection. So make sure that you're really inviting people to and giving people a reason to make introductions for you if they know someone that you may have not known that they know. The last piece is about social media, and social media can be a really great way to do career networking, but I know it can also feel a bit overwhelming. One of my favorite social media tools to use for networking for your career is LinkedIn. What I like to do, and at the end of this webinar, I've included really detailed instructions about how to use LinkedIn as a people finder through groups. And I'm going to talk specifically about UWM groups, but you could do this with any other type of group as well. So as you join LinkedIn and make your profile, and now, if you already have a profile, fantastic. If you're just making your profile now, great. Now you've got your profile set up. And I've heard from a lot of people, and I can share that I felt this personally. As I set up my LinkedIn profile, I felt like, great, okay, I've got my profile. Now what? And a lot of times that's where people get stuck. They might ask their old classmate to connect, or an old friend to connect. And so you've got those connections, but oftentimes people feel a little bit stuck with what they're supposed to do with LinkedIn from here. It wasn't until a couple of years ago that I was shown how to use LinkedIn as this people finder, as a searchable directory, and it really changed how I LinkedIn, and I found it to become a much more useful tool once I started using it this way. And I'll explain the broad overview of it, but rest assured that at the end of this PowerPoint there are specific detailed instructions about how to do this. So once you join the UWM Alumni Association group, which you see listed here, or UWM Panther Career Connections, we also have a bunch of school-specific UWM alumni groups, like for LUBAR, like for the Department of Economics, as well as many other. Searching for those groups and asking to join those groups. Once the owners of those groups, the specific school, the Alumni Association, verifies that you can be part of the group as an alum, then they allow you into the group. Once you're in this group, and let's use the alumni group as an example, there are over 9,000 people in the UWM alumni group, and all of these people joined the alumni group as a way to stay connected with fellow alum and with UWM. And so what's great about this group is that it's searchable. It's a searchable directory of people. You can search these 9,000 members for company name, for job title, for industry, for location, for any type of keyword that you wanted. So say there is a company on your target list and you've racked your brain and you don't know anyone that works there. Now, all of a sudden, you get to go type in ABC company in the alumni group, and there might be some really great alumni who are working at that organization that then you can reach out to through LinkedIn. And again, don't worry, the instructions have sample text for how to write this outreach and make this connection. So that's there to help you follow step by step, but this can be a really great way to find people that you would have never been able to find before through social media and through LinkedIn. And I always remind people the idea of using LinkedIn to find people is really a way to get out of LinkedIn, because really what you want to do is connect with these people to ask for an informational interview, see if you can email back and forth if you're not in the same location. Maybe you could have a phone call. And so you're really using social media to find the people, make a connection on social media, and get out and actually make a connection in real life. Last, you also can consider using Facebook, for example, by becoming a fan of the UWM Alumni Association to make some connections, with other UWM alum, as well as using Twitter, following UWM alumni, or I know a lot of people will use Twitter to maybe follow people who work at the organization to learn some insider advice and maybe make some connections through Twitter as well. Now that we've talked in detail about tools and strategies, about the three main areas that a strategic and effective job search needs: posting, targeting, and networking, let's talk about a few additional ideas. So a few job search essential additions that may or may not apply to your job search I wanted to list here. And you can see that they include things like career exploration and job or field related research, practice interviewing, resume and cover letter writing and tailoring. And we talked about this a little bit as we were thinking about postings and how to do that posting process really strategically. We also have another webinar posted to the site where you found this one that is about resume and cover letter writing. So if you want even more details about how to tailor your resume and cover letter, check out that webinar. You might also want to take some time to reassess and recalibrate your goals if needed. You want to give yourself time and spend some energy organizing and maintaining the processes of your job search, so again, you avoid that chaos. You want to take time to celebrate successes and milestones. Job searches can be a process, and so when they feel like they're getting long, making sure that you're not saving all of your celebration for when you get that next job, but having small celebrations with the successes that you have on the way to getting that job. So they could be finishing applications, setting up informational interviews, having phone interviews, having in-person interviews. These are all successes and milestones on the way to getting that next position. And so we want to celebrate as we're moving along so that we can stay positive and keep going in the search. And the last, of course, is staying healthy, having fun, and considering balance in your job search and life time that you're spending. If you spend all your time on job search, it's really hard to stay positive and keep going. So making sure that the ways that you can stay healthy and have fun, you're implementing and keeping as a part of your job search. Gives you a little idea of the breakdown of how you might consider spending your time in your job search. And so you can see the really, really tall and big area that we want to highlight the importance of is that you want to be spending at least 50% of your time on networking, about 20% of your time on online job search, including the applications, about 15% of your time in job-related research, about 10% of your time in things that are more fun and you're discovering things, whether they're career-related or not, about 5% of your time in system maintenance. And by that we mean thinking about how you're organizing yourself, making sure you're keeping track of your goals and setting deadlines for yourself in your search. Now let's talk quickly about some of the factors that you should consider in your search. So here are some key questions to ask yourself as you're either embarking on a job search or as you're reevaluating a job search you're working on now. You want to think about how much time you have on a weekly basis to work on your job search time. When do you need a job? What kind of support do you have, both people support and financial support? You want to think about what makes you feel successful so that as things are happening and as you're keeping your positive attitude through your job search, you're able to define what makes you feel successful and make sure you're building pieces of that into your job search. You also should think about when you work most effectively on what type of tasks. Thinking about what are your tasks that you like to do and what are the things that are pushing you a little bit outside of your comfort zone or maybe aren't as fun, so that you can pick the time to do the things that are more challenging for you at a time where you have more energy and you're feeling more positive. So you might want to think about when you might work on people-oriented tasks, when you might do your information processing, and when you might do your detail work based on your work style and your personality style, scheduling those for times that are going to work best for you. And then you also want to think about your strengths and weaknesses. both job related and job search related. I'm always reminding people that as you're doing applications, you always want to be thinking about what's coming next with the interview. And so thinking about your strengths and weaknesses for the jobs that you're applying for so that you know those and can talk eloquently about them. But then also, what are your strengths and weaknesses in your job search that you're working on right now, so that the things that you're doing really well that you can celebrate, and this places where you're seeing that you need a little bit of work, you either work harder on them or seek out some extra resources or some extra support or some extra advice to see how you might do some of those pieces of your job search even better. Some factors that you may have to consider in your job search, in addition to these factors, can be family obligations, school, part or full-time employment if you're working during your job search. This certainly cuts back on the time that you can do your job search, so you want to be setting realistic goals for yourself. Other obligations, relocation, if that would have a big effect on your job search, the state of the economy, or the state of the industry that you're looking in. I always remind people it doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't search in that industry if you see it's an industry that's maybe not as booming right now, but you want to know that that industry isn't as booming right now so that you can really work even more strategically and harder to find a position in that, and maybe talk to the people working in that industry to see if there's any new niches that you might be able to get your foot in the door to work in an industry that maybe isn't the best, the most growing industry to work right now. Each week, you want to include online job searching and applications, advertised and not. And so with the not, I mean maybe doing that active outreach to organizations or companies that you would be interested in working at, but that don't necessarily have a posting that applies to you. Research on your target organizations and industries. Networking. Something fun, again, something discovery related where you can be learning, whether it has to do with keeping up with your industry, whether it's something career search related, or just something fun that will keep you going, as well as the maintenance of your systems and materials. Each month, you want to include time for connection time, having those conversations with individuals who work in the types of places that you want to work, or work in the industry or jobs that you find interesting. You want to make sure that you're spending time in celebrating your successes and milestones. As you're going through and maybe re-strategizing right now, as you get a month down the road, it might be a really great time to re-strategize and see, okay, how is this new plan, how is this Venn diagram plan with the postings, targeting, and networking working for me? Are there things that I need to tweak so this better fits my lifestyle? Are there things that I really want to add to this search to make it more successful for me? So taking the time to reflect on your search, what's working and what's not, and make the needed changes. Part of that, of course, is brainstorming and exploration, thinking about adding in, different job titles that you might not have thought of, doing additional exploration about industries that you might not have considered before. And the last, of course, is staying current, whether you're looking to transition into a different field or stay in your current field. You want to make sure that you're staying current with what's happening in that field or industry, so that as you get to the next step of interviews, you're able to speak really well, even if you're maybe not working in that industry now, that you still know about it and you can speak really well about it in an interview situation, in an informational interview situation, or as you're networking. As we're talking about getting more organized in your search, let's go through a few strategies that might help you as you're prioritizing and organizing in your career search. The first idea is that you really want to develop an organizational system that you like, that works for you. We all are a little bit different in the ways that we organize, so spend some time reflecting what works best for you. Are you more of a paper person? Do you like to have it all up on a bulletin board, post-it notes? Are you more of a computer person? Do you like to have it all organized in an Excel spreadsheet? Is it a combination of some of those strategies? Really thinking about what works best for you and challenging yourself to be more organized as you implement more strategies. The second point is that you should record your applications. You want to save the job descriptions, not necessarily the link, because the link might be gone as they start doing interviews. That link might not be there anymore. So you want to copy and paste that job description and save it somewhere where you can access it later if it's not going to be posted online, as well as the materials that you sent. I've never had a worse feeling than have someone call me for an interview and think, gosh, what job was it? What job are you calling? What resume did I send you? And not having those things handy and easy to find. So save those things in a place where it's organized and you know where they all are. In this list of your recorded applications, you want to include those follow-up steps and due dates of when you're making a phone call, when you're sending that follow-up email, so that you really keep on track of that follow-through. The third is that you want to make a list of your outreach and the contacts that you've made. Just like with the applications, especially if you're taking on this kind of broader lens search with the targeting, the networking, and the postings, you don't want to let a great connection that you've made slip through the cracks by not sending an email. So help yourself hold yourself more accountable by keeping this list and including any follow-up steps and due dates that, of course, you're setting for yourself, but still will help you follow through on time. You want to stay on top of your target list, add new organizations or revisit to take action on your existing targets. Create a job search calendar to track events to attend, goals, deadlines, and follow-up steps. Some people like to have this a big visual calendar. Some people like to use Outlook for this, but keeping a calendar will help you to stay on top of your to-dos. Save your key documents in an easy-to-find spot and a safe spot. If you're putting it on a computer, make sure you've got it backed up on a hard drive, because having to go through and redo resumes because your computer died and you've lost everything won't be a good use of your time. Some of the things that you might save in this safe spot and with your key documents are your resume bank, sample outreach emails, thank you letters, things that you might be copying and pasting pieces of to create new documents. I remind people often that I don't like to recreate the wheel. So if you've got a great paragraph from a different thank you letter, you want to tweak it and tailor it to the new thank you letter and the new person you're writing it to, but it doesn't hurt to get a format that you like that you've used before and pull that in as you tweak it for the new thank you letter or the new cover letter. You want to also save self-assessment information and career research in a place where you can pick up where you left off. Career research is not often something we finish. Even as you start in your next position, you're going to be learning about new careers and new career paths. And so saving the information that you're gathering about jobs you're exploring, companies that you're doing research about, save that so that you can pick it up where you left off during your job search, and so that you could potentially pick up where you left off as you think about the transition, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 7, 10 years down the road. The second to last is staying healthy and including to-dos that will keep your job search positive. These may be for you exercise, stress management, eating healthy, spending time with friends and family. Being able to stay positive is a really key piece of your job search, and job searches can get long and can be very stressful. So making sure that you're finding ways to add some joy and smiles into your job search will help you keep working on your job search. And the last bullet point that I think can be really helpful is that let technology help you get organized. There's lots of great online job search management tools that you could use to do some of these things for you, like recording your applications, like recording the contacts in your target list. So I've included a list here, a link here that has a list of online and free job search management tools that you could check out to implement in your job search to make it easier for you and let the computer do some of your work. So as we wrap up today, I want to leave you with a few principles to remember. The first is that re-strategize if your current strategy isn't working. I know it can be really hard to break the habits that we're currently in. So if you were one of those people as I began the webinar thinking, gosh, I'm spending all my time doing postings and I'm just applying to hundreds of jobs and not getting any results, while it can be really hard to break that habit of just kind of churning out applications for postings, I promise that if you take the time energy, and a little bit of courage to re-strategize and add some new and comprehensive ideas and strategies to your job search, like targeting, like networking, it will make your job search more effective and more fun. If you're sending your applications in to no one that you can identify, you're at a disadvantage. Again, doing that due diligence, doing those extra steps so that you're not just sending a resume into what feels like a black hole, that you actually are following up with someone, that you're connecting with people that work at that organization. It's going to be more effective, and you're going to feel a lot better about being able to send it to someone instead of sending it to no one. And in the end, you most likely will have results that are also ones that you like more. Don't confuse your hopes for your job search with the demands on yourself. The questions to consider that we went over earlier, while it sometimes can seem kind of easy, like, okay, well, I'm going to balance everything. I'm going to consider all of the things that are happening in my life. You want to really make sure that, especially if you've got other demands, that you're being realistic about how long your job search will take you based on how many hours a day or how many hours a week you have to work on it. Finding a job that's a good fit can take time, and this fits in with this because as you're trying to find a position and a company and a culture that's a good fit for you, we don't often find that in a snap. And so doing that extra research and having those conversations are going to help you, find a job because you're making the extra time to do those personal connections, but it also will help you take more ownership over finding a job that's right for you. And if you're putting all of this work into it, really the ideal is that you find something that's going to be a good fit and a good step in the right direction for you, so you don't find yourself back in the job search mode more quickly than you had wanted. The second to last is that you want to strive for job search and life balance. Just like we would talk about work-life balance, your job search can be a job in itself. And so making sure you're balancing your life, the demands on your life, and the fun and the things that bring you happiness in your life are balancing and making time for both in conjunction with your job search. And the last thing to remember is that you bring value. As you're seeking and looking at jobs and reading to job descriptions and talking to people about jobs, it can sometimes be easy to lose sight of the fact that you are going to make a great employee, manager, teammate of an organization or of a group of others someday. And so really keeping in mind the things that you're good at and the value that you bring to the organization is going to keep you uplifted and help you stay positive, but then also will help you talk about those things in a way that really shows the skills, the experience, the background, and the value that you bring to your job search and to the organization that you'll eventually work at. So really keeping that in the front of your mind as you're going through with your search. So with that, I want to show you a few additional resources that you can click on these links to find our other webinars, to go to the Career Development Center and find a lot of great information about careers and research and exploration, resume writing, interviewing, and all of the different pieces of a career search, as well as a website that I think has a lot of additional great information and is easily searchable and easy to navigate, which is Quintessential Careers that you see right here. Before I leave you today, like I said, I wanted to share with you this step-by-step to-do list about how to use LinkedIn as a people finder. So you'll see that here on your screen, and you can really read through about creating your profile, about how to connect, find the groups that you like to ask to join, how to find the people in those groups, and how to do the initial outreach to ask to connect to the person in that group that maybe does a job that you think is really interesting or works at an organization that you think is really interesting. And on the second slide, you can see it talks about doing the second follow-up, which is sending an inbox email through LinkedIn to this person to thank them for connecting, but also asking to connect in addition to LinkedIn, either by having a coffee, by maybe meeting one-on-one in their organization if they're open to do kind of a job shadow opportunity, maybe if they're not in the same place as you, or if it's not an option to meet in person, meeting over the phone, or even just emailing back and forth with questions. There's sample text here that you can use, certainly, even just to get a great idea, cater it and tailor it to be your own voice. But if you're just looking for a way to get started, I always remind people that copy paste is your friend, and getting started can sometimes be the hardest part. So, use this sample and make it your own and start doing that additional outreach. This is geared more towards UWM alumni, but this certainly can be used by students as well. The UWM Alumni Association group is open to current students as you look forward to becoming an alumni. So if you're a current student listening to this and thinking, can I use this tool too? Yes, please do. And you can pause this webinar. I know this might be quick to read as I'm talking through it, but you can pause this webinar as you're going through so that you can take the time to read it through and click on the links. But with that, I just want to wrap up with a huge thank you for your attention. I hope that the webinar today gave you ideas for either getting started or reorganizing your job search. And remember that if you have follow-up questions and concerns and are looking for ways to get involved and get in touch, that the UWM Alumni Association is here for you, and we hope to see you or hear from you soon. Thank you so much.